Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Plug and Player. Today we're going to be looking back at one of my favorite plug and plays ever. This is the Radica 6 Games in 1 Sega Genesis. This plug and play is one of my favorites because it is essentially a miniature Sega Genesis. I never had a real Genesis as a kid, but I think I remember seeing the Sonic X anime, and I was convinced that Sonic was the coolest. One day, my family and I were shopping at a Big Lots, and I happened to notice Sonic on one of those boxes that held the plug-and-play inside. My mom decided to get me one, and I was incredibly happy to finally get to play a Sonic game. But in this episode, we're not going to focus on Sonic today. Like I mentioned earlier, Sonic is only one of 6 games featured on this plug-and-play. Hopefully I'll get a chance to share my thoughts on each one. Today, though, we're going to take a look at a game that, to my knowledge, nobody has really covered that much before. This is Kid Chameleon. Now, because this plug-and-play features some proper games, it features some more interesting stories as well. Kid Chameleon is the story about a popular new arcade machine that completely immerses players by literally putting them inside the game. However, the machine is apparently so advanced that the boss of the game escaped its zone and is trapping the players that fail to beat the game. Enter Kid Chameleon, a guy so tough that nobody, not even some video game boss, can beat him. The story is obviously not too special, but as a child I was terrified at the idea of being trapped in a video game, and to prevent myself thinking about it, I remember avoiding this game and focusing on beating Golden Axe instead. Anyway, I did eventually face this game, and thinking about it now, I can say that I have somewhat mixed feelings about this game. Kid Chameleon is your typical 2D platformer where you can run, jump, and do this hilarious but incredibly helpful somersault onto ledges. But this guy isn't called Kid Somersault. The Chameleon part of his name comes with a pretty decent multitude of power-ups that Kid Chameleon can obtain. These power-ups can turn Kid Chameleon into a heavy knight, a sword-swinging samurai, a rhino, a skull tank operator, and Jason. Each power-up provides a unique ability to assist Kid Chameleon on his treacherous journey, some being better than others. My least favorite one is this green vacuum cleaner suit thing that reveals hidden blocks. It's only useful in certain scenarios, and even then it's not very fun to use. My favorite power-up is this tornado one. When you use this power-up and mash the button, Kid Chameleon can fly, and my favorite levels are built around this mechanic, although these levels are rather short. This doesn't apply to some of the other levels, however, but we'll get to that later. To say a bit more about the gameplay, it feels fine, if a bit slippery at times. Most of the levels are made with large platforms to easily traverse across, with jumps that ask nothing unreasonable of the player, but in instances where the game throws narrow platforms and bouncy things at you, it can make navigating through the air a real hassle. However, for the most part, the gameplay is good, and the power-ups that enhance the gameplay are mostly enjoyable. Now for the levels themselves. Each level has the player navigate from the beginning of the level to the end, which is a flagpole. To prevent this design from feeling too familiar, these weird lizard warping platforms send Kid Chameleon either to other parts of the level, or to areas that are entirely different from where you just were. I have a love-hate relationship with this mechanic. On the one hand, the way you are warped to areas that are completely different from the zone you were just in while playing the same level totally sells the idea, for me anyway, that you are trapped in a video game. Plus, it always keeps you on your toes and prevents things from being too predictable. On the other hand, they also postpone the end of the level, having the player wander throughout each stage for a considerably long amount of time. Now, the levels aren't Shadow the Hedgehog long, but in a game that has no save feature, I would appreciate the game to end so I can actually tell you how this game ends. Therefore, I wish that the levels would be a bit shorter. Anyway, no save feature. That is my biggest problem with this game. Now, obviously, if I had an emulator to use save states, I could actually tell you how the game ends. But I'm telling you my experiences with this game on a plug-and-play. Therefore, I judge the game based on what I had then and have now. Needless to articulate, the lack of a save feature is my biggest problem with this game. And when the game forces you to be precise when the gameplay isn't the most precise, causing the game to be quite difficult, I find myself wishing the game were more forgiving. That's not to say this game throws you no lifeline. Scattered throughout levels in out-of-reach areas lie many extra lives and continues. But again, when the difficulty rises and you have so many lives to burn and it takes so long to get past that one godforsaken level, you just need a break once in a while. and the game can't or won't give you that break. And that really upsets me. And yeah, there are cheat codes to skip to different levels, but come on, I really want to save my progress. The last negative point I must make about this game is the boss. Yes, there is only one boss throughout the entire game that appears in different forms in different locations. The forms that I've managed to record include the one where the 3 heads are all impaled on a massive arrow, which I found terrifying as a child, and the form where the 3 are separated and throw boomerangs at the player. My main complaint is that it's just not that creative. However, it is consistent with the story. But anyway, despite all the criticism I'm giving this game, I kind of love it. I love what the game was trying to accomplish, and I feel that it did that, in some ways. The gameplay itself I also find really enjoyable. I just wish it weren't quite so bogged down with some questionable level design and the lack of a save feature. However, if you think that you're up for the challenge and have some free time, I highly recommend giving it a shot. You'll probably enjoy what you'll find, as I have. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you stay tuned to check out the next plug and play I'll be playing. It'll be a real blast from the past for all of us. Also, be sure to check out the last plug and player on the Spider-Man. Until then guys, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.